Marilyn, Jim, Marilyn, Jim, David, Dick, John, Janet, Barbara, Mike, Joe, Chris. That's that's the order. Um, Anytime I've ever had to think that or say that, it's always been with like love and family pride, and it will always be that way. Except now it's got a little bit of sadness in it. Is what it is. Um, Mike, everybody here knows that knew Mike knows he had a unique and unusual sense of humor. Um, I really found this out, or how unique that can be, on April 9th, when I got a call from Cambridge Hospital asking me to call them right away about my brother Mike. I called. The person I spoke to explained what had happened, and he said, when was the last time you saw your brother? I said, well, I haven't seen him probably in about a year and a half, but we're communicating regularly. And he said, well, I'm sorry to have told you the news. You're one of his emergency contacts. And he said to me, do you know Oliver McDonald? And I said, I do not. Well, he said, Oliver McDonald was the other emergency contact. It took a couple of weeks to figure out that Oliver McDonald belongs to Brad McDonald and is in fact a cat. That was Mike. Mike made me his emergency contact, but in typical Mike humor, decided not to tell me. So that phone call was a complete surprise and a shock, and it still is. I didn't know, I knew enough about Mike, but that his life here, and it was all built around 99 Hooker and the Hooker Street Bar and the general neighborhood, but I really didn't understand how much he meant to people he worked with and the people that lived with him and the neighborhood until I got to speak to these folks. I don't know if anybody's here from New England Baptist, but that day, or in the few days after he passed, I ended up speaking to 4 or 5 folks from New England Baptist Hospital, and they imparted to me how much he meant to the whole hospital. Everybody knew Mike. Mike had a kind word and a smile for everybody at the hospital, the entire staff. It was quite amazing to hear that heartfelt emotion from literally an entire workforce. So I really got to appreciate that. And then spending time at 99 Hooker with all the folks he lived with Kevin and Steve and former roommates Brad and Fred. It's amazing the impact that he had on those people that lived there and local friends, and it really I guess had an impact on the entire Brighton-Olson neighborhood. It seems to me now he was like an ambassador, and he would talk to strangers on the street, and if they needed money, he'd give them money. If they needed a cigarette, he would give them that, or I guess whatever else he had to give them. So he was part of the fabric of the community, and I never really understood that until after he was gone. It's pretty amazing. In terms of Michael's interactions with his siblings, I know he saw Joe quite frequently, but for most of us, we didn't see him all that very much at all. But he was always in touch via email and text, but largely email. And for many years, he would send out a birthday greeting to each of his 9 siblings on their birthday and announce this was their birthday. And, you know, David's birthday, he's been a member of the family since 1952 in my case. and he would proceed to make fun in a very loving and caring and kind way of the person who was the subject of that day's good-natured verbal abuse. And everybody was verbally abused, some more than others. And it was always meant in a family and kind spirit. Occasionally, if he was really ticked off about something, that came through as well. But for the most part, it was his connection to the family. It was important to him, and I think it was important to all of us as well. For me personally, my connection to Mike was through music. We both love music. We like some of the same music, and in some cases, some very different music, and some things that he couldn't understand that I liked, and same on my side. But the debate was always there, and I used to listen to new music streams every Friday. And when those streams come through, if I heard something that I thought might interest Mike, I'd shoot him a note, and I'm sure he went and looked them all up. But we had a never-ending debate on music. Who's better, the Beatles or the Stones? It didn't seem like it was much of a debate to me, but is what it is. He introduced me to some music I had not heard. Craig Finn and Hold Steady. He reintroduced me to the New York Dolls. I introduced him to Frank Turner. Don't know if anybody knows who that is. And reintroduced him to Warren Zevon along the line. So that connection was really strong for me, and I've missed it since April 9th. That's it. Thank you for coming.